try and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Harry's dad. I'm William.
Where do you work?
I have my own business. We have a construction business there, construction services business, and a self-storage business here in Cork.
How did you feel about me studying MSIS in Trinity when you first started?
I suppose I was apprehensive at the start about you being away in Dublin. About the routine about being up early in the morning and hitting classes, things like that. I'd have been probably more comfortable if you opted for commerce in Cork.
So did you have any other concerns?
No, I suppose I was happy you picked MSIS because it's a rock and roll course, and the opportunities out of it are brilliant, and just it wasn't available here in Cork. But they were the concerns.
What were the first few weeks like?
I suppose worrying, just as we make contact with you during the daytime in mornings and you weren't answering, so just worried that you were up and at it in the classes and hitting them. Like you're well able, and we've no doubt about it. It's just getting the frame of mind sorted that this is what's in front of me. Like you're a hard worker, so there was no issues with that. But it was the routine, the right buses, the right routes, the timetable, all of that. It's all new and it's all daunting. So there were the concerns.
You have interacted with Trinity staff. What's your experience with them?
I found them extremely engaging, I'd have to say. I think when you got through the bureaucracy, because there is bureaucracy and they have to apply it, However, the people I dealt with, I found them to have a very much a common sense approach to problem solving rather than hiding behind a rule book. We can't do this, we can't do that. And I found them genuinely interested in you, in succeeding, and genuinely interested in understanding, the limitations and what went wrong or what could go wrong, and the support's there. So I would say overall, very, very, very positive.
What roles did you engage with?
I suppose I engaged quite a few. Initially, with Declan, wasn't it?
The
Head of Disability Services, Declan Trainer. He was most engaging and very informative. Initially, he was following the set routine, but he had a very common sense approach to solving it. You could see he had experience, years of experience. He understood how the structure worked. He could see the frustrations that an outsider would say, as myself coming in, would see in it, but he guided me through it, and I felt very comfortable with him. I suppose I had some interaction with some of your lectures, and I found them to be engaging and understanding. I found like one of the lectures needed to be, I suppose I could feel that individual hadn't an understanding of where I was coming from initially, because they weren't aware of what was the term you have there, and they get notes about students.
Lens report?
The lens report, yeah. And this individual hadn't read it, which, to be fair, the other lectures then, the other lectures I dealt with, two of them, I'd say the other one hadn't understand the same scenario. I don't think they had read the lens report to the detail, but when I articulated to them both very fast, understood where I was coming from, and could see that, if they had that information prior to the exams, if they had that information 8 months earlier, now they actually had the information, but whatever way it was communicated, it didn't pick up, because it's a busy start to the year for them. They had missed it, and they just had a different approach. I could see the penny dropping with both of them when I was articulating to them the position you were in and how challenging you found it in certain aspects of the academic side, and applying. You have a brilliant mind, and I think when they realised that you were genuine, like you weren't a messer, you weren't someone out there, who was creating problems, they most certainly, I found them very supportive.
It's worth mentioning that Declan is also my disability officer, which is why we interact with him so much. You also interact with my tutor, Brendan.
Brendan, yeah.
How was that?
That's fantastic. I'd have to say now, again, could see in me the frustrations I was having with the system. Brendan had huge understanding of it and was able to, I suppose, bring me through it and support me and support you. Because that wasn't about myself. Support just you. And I suppose again it comes back to that common sense approach I found. I suppose as your advocate, I communicated with them, which probably isn't what they're used to, but I would encourage any parents to engage with them on a one-to-one basis, because most certainly they're good people. I had no complaints in any area. Like, they did everything that I asked them to do. They did everything within their power, and I would say they probably went outside their remit to support you, which I'd be fairly certain it wouldn't happen in every institution. I think, like, I really couldn't complain about any aspect of it.
Yeah, so overall, do you think Trinity has been good for me? Do you think moving out of Cork has been good for me?
As I said, I probably would have preferred initially that if you'd gone to UCC and then of course. Relating back to your question, was it good for you? I think so. I think it's absolutely 100%. Like, you've learned so much yourself, you've grown so much in learning things. I think you have to let them go sometime, and like, Trinity is a safe environment. It's as safe as you'll get out there, and a stepping stone to life. If you'd gone to college at home, close to home, been home every night, and then gone out to the workplace in 5 years' time in Dublin and staying away, you'd be trying to learn all those skills you've learnt in the last 18 months in college, or the last 12 months in college. So yeah, I think it was most certainly good for you, and will stand you good stead for years and years to come. But I think that as a parent, that's something you just need to think about. Keep it home, first, second, third year, brilliant, and then they go a bit more mature. Yeah, you're spot on, but what they don't learn is the life skills, the shit they need to fail at, when they leave home. That's a start. And you won't get that level of support in a work environment like you do in an academic environment, and that's a big one as a parent to think about.
Yeah, just finally, anything else you want to throw out there for incoming parents and incoming students?
I suppose, be familiar with your kids' timetable, where they should be. Be familiar with the structure around the timetable. So, is there assessments to be handed in on a Friday or every second Friday? Okay, mark it in your calendar and check that they're in. Have some way of verifying it with them in a positive, open environment. Be familiar with the services that are available there in the college. I would suggest request a meeting with the services, disability services, at the end of October, with your son or daughter, and just have a review where we are. And again, I'd be looking at that again when they go back in February. A reach out. There's some amazing services there that I didn't realize, and you weren't familiar of as well. If you're struggling with a particular subject, there's supports there from seniors. Seniors being, if you're in first year, people who are in third year or fourth year, they have these kind of boot camps once a week where they set aside an hour. You can go with a problem. Fantastic. So that's what I'd be saying.
It's worth mentioning that I have two older siblings, one in UCC and one in UCD. So you don't regret not checking up on them, because they ended up, not like they ended up being fine, So I think it's worth mentioning that you can check out as much as you want, but it might be pointless. You don't know. And even then, I learned so much from having that independence. So there is that checking up to make sure your child doesn't fail any exams. But then sometimes you gotta let them fail, And
actually, that's a very good point, Harry.
Yeah, and then in the case of Alex and William, my older siblings, they didn't end up failing. I did, and I ended up getting over the hump though.
Yeah, I suppose the difference with Alex is we were fully informed of how she was getting on all the time. She spoke so much about it. I think William, not to the same degree, but would have, you know, a lot more communication about, I feel, in relation to what was happening and, you know, classes, different things he was stuck in.
Yeah.
Maybe less from you in first year, particularly around the academic side of it.
It's boring. Why would I talk about it?
Yeah.
That's it. All right, thanks
Very
for
good.
doing it.